Linchpin, Are You Indispensable? By Seth Godin. Picture Hector standing on a freezing street corner in Queens before dawn. 6 other men huddle beside him, their breath making clouds in the cold air. They're all waiting for the same thing, someone to choose them for a day's work. A pickup truck rumbles up. The contractor barely glances at them. He doesn't care about credentials or experience. He just needs bodies. To him, these men are interchangeable. He tosses out a minimum wage offer, points at 3 random guys, and drives off. Hector stays behind, stamping his feet against the cold. Maybe another truck will come, maybe it won't. He's just one option among many, and the contractor knew it didn't really matter which ones he picked. Here's the uncomfortable truth. We're all standing on that corner in one way or another. Your resume drowns in a sea of identical applications. Your business looks just like 50 others in your city. Your workspace could belong to anyone. We've been trained since childhood to blend in, work hard, keep quiet, and cross our fingers that someone picks us. This was the deal our parents knew. Show up, follow orders, don't make waves, and the company will take care of you forever. But that world evaporated. The factories closed, the promises broke, and suddenly the people who just follow instructions became the easiest to replace. They became Hector on the corner. But there's another path. What if you could become the person they build the entire operation around, the one they can't imagine losing? Not just another cog in the machine, but the linchpin holding everything together. Seth Godin wrote a manifesto that's transformed how millions of people think about work. By the end of our time together, you'll understand the secret to becoming indispensable. It's not about longer hours or a genius IQ. It's about making one simple choice, to stop being a cog and start being an artist. And the beautiful part, you don't even need to quit your job. For over a century, the world ran on a beautiful lie. Let's call it the safety bargain. Here's how it worked. Go to school, follow instructions, show up on time, work hard. In exchange, the system would take care of you with steady paychecks, health insurance, and job security. No need for creative genius or risky moves. Just be a reliable part of the machine. And honestly, it worked for a long time. This was the backbone of the American dream. Schools churned out compliant workers, and companies grew into empires by hiring them. Whether you assembled widgets, processed claims, or answered phones, you were working in a factory of some kind. The goal was making every worker replaceable, because replaceable meant cheap. Then that era died, so quietly that most people missed it. Technology and global competition swept in, doing the work of obedient cogs faster and cheaper than any human could match. Suddenly, people who'd followed all the rules found themselves with frozen wages, vanishing pensions, and constant layoff anxiety. The bargain was broken. The safe path became the most dangerous path. So where does that leave us? With a choice. Seth Godin lays it out clearly. You can either race to the bottom, trying to be the cheapest, most obedient cog possible, always worried about being replaced. Or you can race to the top. You can choose to become a linchpin. What exactly is a linchpin? A linchpin isn't just another employee. They're the essential building block of great organizations. They're the person you can't imagine the place functioning without. They bring originality, passion, and humanity to everything they touch. In a word, indispensable. Sure, think of Steve Jobs at Apple, obviously a linchpin. But Godin argues this isn't reserved for corner offices. What about the guy at your local produce stand who remembers your name and always picks the perfect avocado? He's why you drive past the faceless supermarket. He's a linchpin. Or the customer service representative who doesn't robotically read scripts, but actually listens and solves your problem with real empathy. She just converted an angry customer into a loyal advocate. She's a linchpin. Here's where it gets interesting. Linchpins are artists. Forget the image of berets and paintbrushes. Godin's definition of art is much bigger and more powerful. He says art is a personal gift that changes the recipient. It's any original act of courage and humanity that creates change in another person. A cook follows recipes. A chef invents a new dish that creates a moment of surprise and delight. The chef is an artist. A telemarketer reads scripts. A great salesperson connects with clients, understands their fears, and builds genuine trust. That salesperson is an artist. Art isn't about the medium, paint, marble, words. It's about intent and connection. It's bringing your full, authentic self to the table and creating interactions that can't be scripted. It's what Godin calls emotional labor. Physical labor is lifting boxes. Emotional labor is the hard work of navigating feelings, both others and your own. It's calming angry customers, inspiring exhausted teams, or staring into infinite possibilities and having the courage to choose a direction. It's giving a genuine gift of your energy and insight without any guarantee of getting anything back. For generations, we were told to leave our emotions and creativity at home. The factory didn't want them. The factory wanted human machines. But now actual machines run the factories. The only remaining advantage humans have is being human. Emotional labor can't be outsourced. It's the heart of the Linchpin's work. This sounds amazing, right? Be an artist. Be indispensable. But if it's so straightforward, why doesn't everyone just do it? Because we've been programmed. And because there's a powerful force inside each of us actively working to stop us. First, the programming. Think about your school experience. What were you really learning? Sit in straight rows. Raise your hand before speaking. Follow instructions. Memorize answers for tests. Use a number 2 pencil. Godin argues our education system was never designed to create artists, leaders, or innovators. It was deliberately built over a century ago by industrialists who needed one thing: a steady supply of obedient factory workers. School taught us the goal is getting A's, by avoiding mistakes, fitting in, not asking too many questions, doing the minimum required. But which of these skills makes you indispensable? None of them. In fact, they guarantee you'll be a replaceable cog. The problem isn't teachers. It's a system designed for an economy that no longer exists. But there's an even deeper, more personal enemy, what Seth Godin calls the resistance. He borrowed this term from writer Stephen Pressfield, and it's one of the most crucial ideas you'll ever encounter. The resistance is that nagging voice in your head. It's the primitive part of your brain Godin calls the lizard brain. The lizard brain cares about 4 things: fighting, fleeing, feeding, and reproducing. Its only job is keeping you safe. And to the lizard brain, safe means hidden, invisible, unchanged. The resistance is the lizard brain's voice. It's the force behind procrastination, self-doubt, and a million rational-sounding excuses stopping you from creating your art. Why didn't you speak up in yesterday's meeting? The resistance. Why is that brilliant idea still gathering dust in your notebook? The resistance. Why do you check email 45 times an hour instead of doing the hard creative work? The resistance. The resistance is terrified of you standing out. It fears people will laugh. It fears failure. Here's the twist. It also fears success, because success means you'll have to do it again, top yourself, and change your world. The lizard brain hates change. So it whispers, you're not qualified enough. You don't have the right degree. Your boss will never go for it. Someone will steal your idea. Start tomorrow instead. The resistance causes writer's block, but also salesperson's block, leader's block, and artist's block. It loves committees because they paralyze action. It loves endless research because it feels productive while preventing actual decisions. It loves criticizing others' work because it raises the bar so impossibly high you'll be too scared to try. The tragedy? You don't need more genius. You already have plenty. What you need is less resistance. The Linchpin has learned to recognize that voice. They feel the fear, acknowledge it, and do the work anyway. They understand that more fear usually means more importance. The resistance becomes a compass pointing toward what matters most. So how do you fight the resistance? How do you silence the lizard brain and release your art? Godin gives us powerful tools and mindsets. First and most important, Real artists ship. Shipping means finishing what you start and releasing it into the world. Hitting publish on your blog post. Delivering the presentation. Launching the product. Having the difficult conversation. Your art doesn't count if it stays locked in your head. Starting only matters if you finish. The resistance loves perfectionism because it's the ultimate excuse for never shipping. You can tweak and polish forever, waiting for a perfect moment that never arrives. But real artists don't do that. They ship. Saturday Night Live airs every week. Ready or not, it's live. No do-overs. Sometimes it's imperfect, but the discipline of shipping weekly is what makes it great. Picasso painted over 1,000 paintings. You can probably name 3. He shipped. I've written over a dozen books. Most didn't sell well. But without shipping those, I'd never have reached the ones that succeeded. Shipping is a habit. A commitment to colliding your work with the outside world. Unshipped ideas are just regrets. The second linchpin tool is understanding the power of gifts. Capitalism trained us to see every interaction as a transaction, a day's work for a day's pay. Tit for tat. Clean, simple, separate. Nobody washes a rental car before returning it. Why? Because it's transactional. Avis isn't part of our tribe. But linchpins operate in a different economy, the gift economy. Gifts aren't transactions. Gifts are voluntary and create bonds. When you give a true gift, you don't expect immediate, equivalent repayment. The magic is that gifts create connection and abundance. When you go the extra mile for a customer, not because your boss is watching, but because you genuinely care, that's a gift. The customer feels it. They can't immediately repay you, but that interaction strengthens their bond with your company. When you freely share knowledge with a coworker, that's a gift strengthening your team. For centuries, power meant receiving gifts. Kings and lords got things. But in the new economy, power comes from giving gifts. The person most generous with insight, energy, and art becomes indispensable. They become the tribe's center. Think about the internet. Why do people post helpful YouTube videos for free? Why answer strangers' questions in forums? They're gifts. As these gifts spread, they build reputation, following, and tribe. Generosity comes first. Benefits, job offers, new clients, respect, follow. Artists give gifts. They create not just for money, but because they're compelled to share and change people. That's why you can't rip off artists for long. Smart organizations know that if they're lucky enough to have a generous artist on their team, they should pay them well. Because if they don't, someone else will. The final, perhaps most challenging linchpin tool is working without a map. The resistance screams, "Tell me what to do." We crave instructions because following someone else's map means it's not our fault if we get lost. Maps protect us from responsibility and blame. But Godin's most radical message is this: there is no map. For work that matters, there can't be a map. Art is navigating without one. Leadership is drawing new maps for others to follow. If there were step-by-step guides to leadership or art, they wouldn't be leadership or art, they'd be recipes. Factory work. Your value comes from moments requiring judgment calls, when there's no rulebook, when you must see the world clearly and invent a path forward. This requires what Buddhists call prajna, the ability to see things clearly without attachment to outcomes, looking at a crisis not as a personal attack, but with calm curiosity. Isn't that interesting? Remember Richard Branson stuck at the airport when his flight was canceled? He didn't scream at the gate agent or complain. He looked at reality clearly. A plane full of people wanting to get home. A charter desk nearby. He saw the situation without anger's baggage. He drew a new map, chartered a plane, sold tickets to fellow passengers, and got everyone home. That's linchpin work. This brings us to the core. Godin identifies 7 key linchpin abilities. But they aren't innate talents. They're skills you can choose to develop. First, providing a unique interface. You're the bridge between departments or between company and customer, a master of connection. Second, delivering unique creativity. You don't just have ideas, you have the passion to ship them. Third, managing complexity. When everyone's overwhelmed, you see the path through chaos. Fourth, leading customers. You don't just sell, you educate, connect, and build tribes. Fifth, inspiring staff. You create momentum. Your passion and energy spread. Sixth, providing deep domain knowledge. You know your field so well you can see the future and help draw the map. Seventh, possessing a unique talent. This is your superpower, not just something you're good at, but something you've chosen to become the best in the world at. You don't need all seven, but you need something making you different, worth finding and keeping. So what if you try all this and it doesn't work? What if you give your gift and people don't appreciate it? What if you make your art and people laugh? You make more art. You learn from what happened and do it again. The only alternative is giving up and going back to being a cog. That's the only true failure. Trying and failing is how you become an artist. It gives you the right to try again. And what about that most common excuse, my boss won't let me? Godin says 9 times out of 10, that's just the resistance talking. Your boss is probably desperate for you to step up, show initiative, and bring your real self to work. That 1 time out of 10, when it's true, when you work for an organization punishing art and enforcing mediocrity, you have to ask yourself a hard question. Why are you still there? You are not your resume. You are your work. Your projects are the new resume. In a world where anyone can Google you, your reputation is built on the art you ship and the gifts you give. This is the new American dream. Not keeping your head down and following instructions. It's being remarkable, generous, creating art, making judgment calls, connecting people and ideas. When you do that, the world has no choice but to reward you, not just with money, but with respect, freedom, and the security that comes from knowing you're truly indispensable. What's the most powerful takeaway from all this? For me, it's the separation between your job and your work. Your job is what they pay you for, the tasks, instructions, meetings. But your work, your real work, is your art. The gift you choose to bring, the emotional labor you invest, the part of you that can't fit in a manual. And you can do your work, your art, from any job. You can be an artist as a barista, banker, programmer, or janitor. It's not about your title. It's about your attitude. About the choice you make when nobody's telling you what to do. The book also brilliantly diagnoses an anxiety everyone feels today, especially young people. The pressure to fit in, build the perfect resume, follow the approved path. Godin gives us permission to reject that. He tells us the very things making us feel weird or different are our greatest strengths. Your quirks, your unique perspective. They're not bugs, they're features. They're your art's source. And finally, there's the beautiful, empowering concept of the resistance. Naming it, understanding it, is like flipping on a light in a dark room. You realize the self-doubt, procrastination, and fear aren't personal failings. They're a primal, biological force everyone must fight. The lizard brain trying to keep you safe in a world that no longer rewards safety. Once you see it for what it is, you can start fighting back. You can learn to dance with the fear. If this has sparked something in you, here are a few simple things to try starting today. First, do one small thing outside your job description. Clean up a mess you didn't make. Help a struggling coworker without being asked. Send a customer an appreciation note. Just one small, unrequested gift. See how it feels. Second, identify one small thing you're afraid to do, and do it. Maybe speaking up in a meeting, sharing a creative idea, or just making eye contact and smiling at a stranger. Moving toward fear, even in small ways, builds your courage muscle. Third, ship something. It doesn't need to be perfect. Write that email you've been avoiding. Finish that one-page proposal. Make that phone call. Just complete one small thing and release it into the world. That's how you build momentum. That was our deep dive into Linchpin by Seth Godin. We've explored the core ideas, but honestly, a summary can only give you a glimpse of the real thing. The true power of a book like this comes alive when you read it yourself. It's in those quiet moments when one of Godin's stories, or a single sentence, connects with you unexpectedly. This summary is a map to hidden treasure. If anything we've discussed today resonated, I encourage you to seek out that treasure. Reading it isn't just about learning. It's an experience that can genuinely transform how you view your work, your art, and your own potential. The link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Your support helps us keep growing together.